Shalawam, and welcome back to the Hidden Chosen. I am Hadassabat Saiwan, returning with the Holy Feast Days of Yahawah, and we are in part 10 called the second fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacles and the Feast of Ingathering. So let's get started. We will now take a look at the second fulfillment of the feast days called the Feast of Tabernacles and the Feast of Ingathering, or Har HaAsayap. That's Feast of Ingathering. Now remember that the first fulfillment occurred before the millennial reign of Hamashiach, and the second fulfillment of these two feast days will occur after the millennial reign. Okay? We understand what the second fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacles will be. So we will focus now on the Feast of Ingathering because that's the one that I have spoken the least about. All right? There is very little spoken of concerning this feast day, yet there are many clues to help us to glean and to understand a lot about this feast day. You see, this feast day is marking an event that will occur at the very end of the age and very near to the beginning of the new and eternal era. So this is when these two feast days will be completed, when the old has been passed away and the new comes forth. Let us look at the clues in the scriptures to learn what we can about this feast day. This is the Feast of Ingathering. Let's look at the book of Exodus, Shamawath chapter 23, verse 14. 3 times you shall keep a feast unto me in the year. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread. You shall eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded you, in the time appointed of the month Abayab. For in it you came out from Matzarayim, and none shall appear before me empty. Who is he speaking of? Let's read on. Verse 15. And the Feast of Harvest, which we know as Shabbaoth, or the Feast of Weeks, or the Day of Pentecost, all the same feast day with different titles. The first fruits of your labors, which you have sown in the field. So that would be the barley and the wheat harvest are connected to these two feast days thus far. And the Feast of Ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when you have gathered in all your labors out of the field. So the end of the year is speaking of the ending of the harvest season, not the literal ending of the year. Verse 17. 3 times in the year all your males shall appear before Yahawah Alahayam. So those are the ones that were to appear before him bearing gifts. The males were supposed to appear before Yahawah Alahayam for these 3 feast days every year. Who were these males that appeared before Alahayam Yahawah 3 times a year, and why were they commanded to do this? Let's look at Exodus again, chapter 13, verse 11. Shamawath chapter 13, verse 11. And it shall be when Yahawah shall bring you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore unto you and to your fathers, and shall give it to you, that you shall set apart unto Yahawah all that open the matrix, that means the womb, and every firstling that comes of a beast which you have. The males shall be Yahawah's. So all firstborn males, whether man or beast, belonged to Yahawah. After they left Goshen, this was the command that Alahayam gave to Masha to give to the people. Verse 13. And every firstling of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. And if you will not redeem it, then you shall break its neck. And the reason why that it had to be redeemed was with a lamb, because a donkey is considered an unclean animal. Unclean in a sense for sacrificial purposes. The clean animals like the lambs, the goats, the bullocks were sacrificed, the firstling. But the donkey could not be sacrificed because it's considered ceremonially unclean. All right? So to fix that, Yashwa'al could either redeem it with a lamb, meaning exchange it with a lamb, okay? Or just break its neck. But it would not be considered a sacrifice. And all the firstborn of man among your children shall you redeem. And it shall be, when your sons ask you in time to come, saying, What is this? That you shall say unto him, By strength of hand Yahawah brought us out from Matzorayim, from the house of bondage. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that Yahawah slew all the firstborn in the land of Matzorayim, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrificed to Yahawah all that opened the matrix, being males, but all firstborn of my children I redeemed. Okay, so this is the reason why this was done. Let's read on. And it shall be for a token upon your hand, and for frontlets between your eyes, for by strength of hand Yahawah brought us forth out of Matzorayim. So what happened in Matzorayim before they left? The one trigger that caused Pharaoh to oust Yashwa'al out of their land was the death of all firstborn, man and beast. All right? What Alahayam told Masha to tell the people to do was to select a lamb or a kid of a goat of 1 year, 1 year old, take its blood and put it upon the lintel and doorpost of the house where they were residing in. And that death angel would pass over them. But those that did not have the blood or the sign of the blood, the firstborn of their children and their animals would die. That was a plague. Now, Alahayam caused Yashwa'al to escape death. So they owed him. They needed now. This now became a debt to Yashwa'al. A debt that could not be paid by them. Could not. And I'll explain to you as we go along. So what Alahayam put in place, he put temporary measures in place to satisfy him until the debt is able to be paid. All right? The animals were sacrificed as long as they were clean animals, and the unclean animals like the donkey were redeemed with a lamb or its neck was broken. But when it came to the children now, the male children, there was something else involved here that we can and will glaze over unless Yahawah, through his Ruach, reveals to us exactly what this is all about. Let's read on. When Alahayam Yahawah protected the firstborn of Yashraal in Goshen, it became a debt unto us, a debt in which he had established temporary measures, just like the blood sacrifices of animals were temporary measures for the atonement of our forefathers' sins. Alahayam is giving us a clue as to why he commanded that these firstborn males belong to him after our forefathers left Goshen. Now, he's not only talking about those that came out of Goshen, but every single firstborn male after that also belonged to him. Even when we were taken in slavery, all firstborn males still belong to him. All right? This command was repeated because they belong to him, despite other measures that were put in place temporarily. We can tell by the fact that these firstborn males had to appear before him 3 times a year bearing their offerings, which happened not coincidentally to be the timing of the 3 harvests. So it was not a coincidence, in other words. Couldn't get that word out for some reason. So it was not a coincidence that it happened to be the timing of the 3 harvests, which were paired with the 3 feast days. So let's look at them. You have the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is also Pesach, because you know those two are celebrated together as one. And it was connected to the barley harvest. The Feast of Harvest, which is Feast of Shabbaoth, the Feast of Weeks, Day of Pentecost, was tied to the wheat harvest. And the Feast of Ingathering was tied to the Feast of Tabernacles. These firstborn males, when they lived in our land, made pilgrimages to Yerushalayim in order to celebrate these feast days, which happened to be harvest times according to the instructions of Yahawah. So don't forget, when Yashraal, the 12 tribes, received their portions of their inheritance of the land, 2.5 tribes were on the opposite side of Yarden, which is the river Jordan, and the other 9.5, the other, yes, 9.5 were in the land called Yashraal proper, okay? It was all Yashraal. All that was Yashraal, but what we see today as Yashraal, okay? So that's why, and the country, Yashraal, it was a pretty big country. All right, so they had to leave home. They had to leave home, and they called it a pilgrimage 3 times a year, that they would leave their homes to travel to the city called Yerushalayim, where the temple was constructed, and there they made their offerings. All right. The firstborn of the animals, if they were clean animals like sheep, goats, or cattle, were sacrificed. If they were unclean like a donkey, then it was redeemed with a lamb, and the lamb was sacrificed. Or the neck of the donkey was broken if it was not redeemed with a lamb. So let's look at Exodus again, Shamawath chapter 34, verse 19. All that opened the matrix, meaning the womb, is mine. And every firstling among your cattle, whether ox or sheep, that is male. But the firstling of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, and if you redeem him not, then you shall break his neck. All the firstborn of your sons you shall redeem, and none shall appear before me empty. Instead of claiming and calling the firstborn males of Yashwa'al into ministry, Yahawah chose the tribe of Lawai, that's the tribe of Levi, to perform what was the intended function of these firstborn males, to be his priesthood in his tabernacle. Yahawah chose the tribe of Lawai long before their forefather Lawai was born. Therefore, this was his intention from the beginning. Why? Because he knew that all these generations after they left Goshen could not pay the debt. All right? There was only one generation that can and will pay this debt. But that in these days of Masha, it meant it was going to be a future generation, way ahead of their time. Okay? I'll explain it, don't worry. You understand what I'm saying? But he's given us clues as to who these firstborn males will be and what they will be doing by looking at who he swapped them out for. He swapped them for Lawai, and Lawai became the priesthood for Yashraal. All right. So, but he knew from the beginning he was going to do this. Let's read on. Let's look at the book of Numbers, Malabar chapter 3, verse 11. And Yahawah spoke unto Masha, saying, And I, behold, I have taken Lawai from among Habanai Yashwaal, instead of all the firstborn that opened the womb among Habanai Yashwaal, the children of Yashwaal. Therefore, Lawai shall be mine. So there he is swapping the firstborn males, but they still needed to come to present themselves before him 3 times in a year, although he swapped them out. Why? Because he does not want us to forget that all firstborn males belong to him. And Lawai was only a temporary measure. Okay? For his purpose, for the purpose that he has for these firstborn males. They are to be his priests. Let's look at verse 13. Because all firstborn are mine. For on the day that I smote all the firstborn in the land of Matzorayim, I hallowed, meaning he made holy unto me all the firstborn in Yashraal, both man and beast. Mine shall they be. I am Yahawah. All firstborn males belong to him. Okay. We see at first Yahawah declaring all firstborn males were his, then switching to the tribe of Lawai, which he chose to serve him instead. Did this action by Yahawah justify the debt that was owed to him? Remember, the debt still is. That debt is still there, hasn't gone away. All firstborn males. All right? Has it been paid yet? Meaning the action of switching to the tribe of Lawai, does it mean now that the debt was paid? Not in the least. We have to understand the mind of Yahawah and how he communicates to his people in a prophetic manner. At first glance, it would seem as if the debt was paid due to the tribe of Levi that was chosen. But this action by Yahweh was both a temporary fix and at the same time a prophecy that will be fulfilled in the future. This prophecy was hidden like most of the end times prophecies until now. It is revealed as we are at the beginning of the end. This prophecy is intended for the awakened righteous remnant of the 12 tribes of Yashraal, who will see the fulfillment of this prophecy when it occurs. In the meantime, our forefathers in the wilderness and even in our land were given a temporary solution to their debt problem. And the debt problem is still with us today. All right? It's still with us today. And we today, the righteous remnant of the 12 tribes, will see the fulfillment of this prophecy. Let's look at the book of Numbers, Bamadabar, chapter 3, verse 40. And Yahweh said unto Masha, number all the firstborn of the males of Habanai Yashwaal from a month old and upward, and take the number of their names. And you shall take Halawayam, meaning the Levites, for me, I am Yahweh, instead of all the firstborn among Habanai Yashwaal. Halawayam were chosen to replace the firstborn males of Habanai Yashwaal, the children of Israel. This was their temporary redemption. But there was a slight problem with the number of the firstborn males of Halawayam and the firstborn males of Yashwaal, which Yahweh rectified using the payment of shekels. Let's look at the book of Numbers, Bamadabar, chapter 3, verse 39. All that were numbered of Halawayam, which Masha and Ahawara numbered at the command, that should be command, of Yahweh throughout their families. All the males from a month old and upward were 22,000. So all that were of Lawayam, or the tribe of Lawai, were only 22,000. Let's drop down to verse 42. And Masha numbered as Yahweh commanded him all the firstborn among Habanai Yashwaal, and all the firstborn males by the number of names from a month old and upward, of those that were numbered of them, were 22,273. And Yahweh spoke unto Masha, saying, take Halawayam instead of all the firstborn among Habanai Yashwaal, and the cattle of Halawayam instead of their cattle, and Halawayam shall be mine. I am Yahweh. So now even the cattle of Halawayam, their firstborn males of their cattle, now belong to Yahweh instead of Habanai Yashwaal. I am Yahweh. And for those that are to be redeemed of the 273 of the firstborn of Habanai Yashwaal, which are more than Halawayam, you shall even take 5 shekels apiece of the sanctuary, shall you take them. So what he is saying, the tribe of Levi, they were only from 1 month up, 1 month old and upward. They were firstborn males. There were only 22,000 of them. Let's go back there. Let's go back. Actually, he didn't say firstborn males. He just said all the males from a month old and upwards. So that's what I wanted to clarify. So it wouldn't have been the firstborn males from Lawai, but it was all the firstborn males of Habanai Yashwa'al, because of course they're greater in number than Lawai. All right, they're 11 tribes. So all the males from a month old and upward for Lawai were 22,000. But all the firstborn among Habanai Yashwa'al, the 11 tribes, were 22,273. So 273 more males than Lawai. So what Yahawah said to Masha to do is to take 5 shekels apiece from these excess children, male children, firstborn male children of Yashwa'al. And the shekel is 20 gerahs. And you shall give the money, this is verse 48, and you shall give the money wherewith the odd number of them is to be redeemed unto Ahawaran and to his sons. And Masha took the redemption money of them that were over and above them that were redeemed by Halawayam. Of the firstborn of Habanai Yashwa'al took he the money, 1,365 shekels after the shekel of the sanctuary. And Masha gave the money of them that were redeemed unto Ahawaran and to his sons, according to the word of Yahawah, as Yahawah commanded Masha. So you see how Alahayam Yahawah, he fixed everything. Okay? He fixed everything to be perfect. As long as Habanai Yashwa'al followed his instructions, everything was perfect. He already anticipated all the different issues that would arise, and he already had a solution. Okay? The excess of the firstborn males of Habanai Yashwa'al were redeemed by shekels and given to Ahawaran. We know Ahawaran was the high priest and his sons. Yet, despite all of this, Yahawah still claimed all firstborn males as his. And we know this to be true because they had to make the pilgrimage 3 times a year to celebrate 3 specific festivals. And this was a command that that had to be carried out. So even though he redeemed them with the shekel, the excess, in fact, he redeemed them, he exchanged them for lawai, and the excess numbers are redeemed now with the shekels of the sanctuary. These firstborn males still had to appear before him 3 times a year, bearing gifts. Let's look at the book of Numbers, Bamadabar chapter 18, verse 12. All the best of the oil, and all the best of the wine, and of the wheat, the first fruits of them, which they shall offer unto Yahawah, them have I given to you. And whatsoever is ripe is first ripe in the land, which they shall bring unto Yahawah shall be yours. Everyone that is clean in your house shall eat of it. Everything devoted in Yashwa'al shall be yours. Everything that opens the womb in all flesh, which they bring unto Yahawah, whether it be of men or beasts, it shall be yours. Nevertheless, the firstborn of man shall you surely redeem, and the firstling of all unclean beasts shall you redeem. We see now, because he's speaking to Lawai, Ahawaran and his sons and the tribe of Lawai. We see what seemed to be a further change in the ownership of the firstborn males of Yashwa'al, that Yahawah had given them to Halawayam. Everything he gave to his priesthood, even the firstborn males. and their animals. Even though he already redeemed them, he exchanged them because he is telling us something deeper, more profound than what we're reading. There's something more profound behind this message that he does not want us to overlook or forget. Because if he doesn't repeat himself, we will assume that Lawai took the place of these firstborn males and that's the ending of it. No, because he keeps repeating that all firstborn males belong to him, even though he knows he's given them to Lawai. Right? We need to understand that there's more involved with these firstborn males than our eyes are seeing. And only with our hearts can we understand what our eyes are beyond what our eyes are seeing. All right? That's prophecy. That's why he speaks prophetically, because if you have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to understand, then you will see, you will hear, and you will understand. This is not to be taken lightly. Definitely not overlooked. But what was truly happening was for us to see that the redemption of the firstborn males of Habanai Yashwa'al were received and accepted by Yahawah via the tribe of Lawai. They were received through him. You see, they are going to bring their gifts, and they have to give the gifts to Lawai. And Lawai then will make the presentation to Alahayam Yahawah. Any excess in numbers of Habanai Yashwa'al in comparison to Halawayam had to be redeemed by the shekels according to its estimation. This would have been an ongoing ritual, showing us that it was truly a temporary fix to our debt that is still owed to Yahawah today. All right? You see, if Lawai had satisfied that debt, then the firstborn males will not have to appear before him 3 times in a year. Even after all the different solutions that he has given to Yashwa'al, the firstborn males still had to appear before him bearing gifts, bearing their offerings. All right? One thing that we have to know is that this plan of switching the firstborn males of Habanai Yashwa'al for Halawayam was laid a long time ago. Alahayam had always thought to do this thing, but only as a temporary measure until the permanent measure was established. Now, before we read Obariah, let's go back here. Yes, I just want to make sure that I had completed the sentence. Let's look at Obariah, the book of Hebrews, chapter 7, verse 4. Now consider how great this man was, unto whom even the patriarch Abraham gave the tenth of the spoil. So he's speaking of Malach Sadak. All right, the king of Salem, king of Shalom. Shalawam. Shalom. Oh, no. Sorry. Yes. The Malach Sadak that we know as Melchizedek. Okay. Verse 5. And verily, they that are of the sons of Lawai who received the office of priesthood have commanded to take tithes of the people according to the law that is of their brethren, though they come out of the loins of Abraham. So what the writer here is expressing is that before Lawai was even present on the earth, Abraham paid tithes to Malach Sadak. So in a way, Lawai paid tithes. When they were established as the priesthood, they did not have to pay tithes. The tithes all went to them because it was Alahayam's way of making sure that the tribe of Lawai received a portion of all booty, all cattle, anything that the other 11 tribes, when they went to war and they received as booty, when they pillaged, well, they didn't really pillage, but well, whatever. When they went to war and they received cattle and goods and what have you, a portion of it, a tenth of it, went to Lawai to be divided up amongst them as a tribe, because the tribe of Lawai were not permitted to go to war. Their job was to minister before Alahayam Yahawah. All right? And they could not get blood on their hands like that. And so all tithes went to them from the 11 tribes. But here we're seeing that Abraham, their forefather, paid tithes on their behalf. In fact, no, they, meaning Lawai, paid tithes while they were yet still in the loins of Abraham. And this was the only time that Lawai paid tithes. And who did they pay tithes to? Malak Sadak, the office of Malak Sadak. Malak Sadak is an office that was held by Sham and later on by Hamashiach. Do you understand? Verse 6. But he whose descent is not counted from them received tithes of Abraham and blessed him that had the promises. And without all contradiction, the less is blessed of the better. And here men that die received tithes, but there he received them, of whom it is witnessed that he lives. And as it may say so, Lawai also, who received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham, for he was yet in the loins of his father when Malak Sadak met him. We have to understand who and what Malak Sadak is in order to understand what is being said in the verses above. Malak Sadak was speaking of Sham, the firstborn son of Nah, who stepped into this priestly office as a type and shadow of the true Malak Sadak, who is Hamashiach. This is a very unique office that is spoken of in connection with Sham, who collected tithes from Abraham, and of Hamashiach, who is our high priest forever after the order of Malak Sadak. Malak Sadak is an office and not a person, hence the reason why it is said. Let's read on what is said about it. Obadiah chapter 7, verse 3. That's the book of Hebrews, chapter 7, verse 3. Without father, without mother, without descent, meaning no ancestors. Having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the son of Alahayam, abides a priest continually. So Malak Sadak is an office. All right? That's why when Sham, he was the first earthly man that took the title, and then later on Hamashiach took that title, and it is still with him to this day. Okay? Obadiah chapter 6, verse 20. Where the forerunner is, for us entered, even Yahawah made a high priest forever after the order of Malak Sadak. So he now is our high priest forever. All right? Now I want to go back up here because speaking of the unique office. Okay. So it's kind of worded strangely. Sometimes I do that. I'm so sorry. It says here, now this is going back to the paragraph in white. This is a very unique office that is spoken of in connection with Shem. Shem who collected tithes from Abraham. So it's a unique office that is spoken of in connection also of Hamashiach. That's what it should have sounded like, right? Not saying that Shem collected tithes from Abraham and Hamashiach. No, 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 no. And of Hamashiach is connected to the unique office of Malak Sadak. All right? So I just wanted to clarify that because it sounded a bit strange as I was reading it. And I'm like, okay. Because I kind of wrote this and I've gone through these slides so many times, right? It's not like I just write them and leave them. But I go through them, I go over them. Sometimes I do a test run and, you know. Anyways, these things happen. Let's read on. We see that the tribe of Lawayam, who became the priesthood, where tithes were paid to them, paid tithes through Abraham, showing us that they could not satisfy the debt that was owed to Yahawah, as they were in the same predicament as we all are, lacking because of our sin issue. Some people call it a sin nature. So even though when they were received as the priesthood unto Yahawah and they never had to pay tithes, they initially paid tithes through Abraham. All right? There needed to be better in order for the debt to be paid and fully accepted by Yahawah. Just like the blood of bulls and goats were temporary, but the blood of Hamashiach was permanent and fully acceptable to Yahawah. Just like the office of Malak Sadak was temporarily filled with Shem because he died. But now it is permanently filled with Hamashiach who lives forever. And this too is fully acceptable to Yahawah. He is fully acceptable to Yahawah. And so it will be for the debt that is owed. And when this debt is paid, it will be paid in full and fully acceptable to Yahawah because it's going to be perfect. Alahayam Yahawah had always intended to give the priesthood to Halawayam, but it was only meant to be temporary. I know I keep repeating that. All right. While he waited for the true priesthood to come. So he is waiting for a true priesthood that is going to be unlike any priesthood that has ever been on the earth. This supports the fact that all along Yahawah, because of his omniscient power, knew that there was going to be a future priesthood that will be coming, who will fulfill all of his requirements to be his priest perfectly and permanently. They will fulfill all of his requirements perfectly and permanently. And because he loved his people, he had devised a plan to install Halawayam, that he may preserve our lineage to be his people called after his name, with his culture, and worshiping him in the way in which he had instructed us. In order for this priesthood that will be coming, and he's doing all of this. He did, in fact, let me change the tense there. He did all of this, installing Halawayam and all the different temporary measures, because the priesthood that is coming will have their opportunity to arise to fulfill this debt. Do you understand? You see, in order for them to come, the payment that is owed, the firstborn males that are owed to Yahawah, in order for them to arise, and take their place to be the payment that is owed. Alahayam had to pave a way for the generations before them to be able to be in covenant with him, to be called his people, to worship him the way how he wants to be worshipped. All right? Because without that, the wrath, his wrath that is set against us because of sin will cause us to be destroyed. But because he does not want us to be destroyed, and he wanted to preserve the generations throughout the ages, to secure a people, a generation, a particular generation that would arise. All right? He had to do all these things. Otherwise, the debt would never be paid. And we would all have been lost in sin and heading for utter destruction. The last thing that he did to secure us a place in his kingdom is to send his son. Not only did he send his son died and rose again. And when he rose again, he released his ruach upon the earth. He released grace upon the earth. All right? These things he did to preserve us as his people, even while we're living in the lands of our captivity, to preserve us because of the generation that he will regather and the firstborn males that will be paid to him, that will be given to him. All right, if I keep speaking, I will be giving it all to you without scripture. And I want to show you in the scriptures where this is all coming from. They're pieces of the puzzle. And these pieces of the puzzle, when they're revealed and then revealed with understanding, and then where Ruach HaKodesh helps you to put the pieces of the puzzle together, then you are given the big picture. Let's look at the book of Yahawah, the book of Jubilees, chapter 30, verse 18. Offspring of Lawai were chosen for the priesthood, and to be Lawayam, meaning the Levites, that they might minister before Yahawah as we do continually. So this is what the angel is saying. Lawai and his sons will be blessed forever, for he was zealous to execute righteousness and judgment and vengeance on all those who arose against Yashwa'al. The two sons of Yaokab, which we know as Shamaoan, that's Simeon, and Lawai, executed judgment and slaughtered all the male Shechemites for what their prince had done to their sister Dinah. He took advantage of her. All right? And what Simeon and Lawai did, because apparently this young prince fell in love with her. And after he assaulted her, then he was asking for her hand in marriage after the fact. So the sons devised a plan to tell all the Shechemites, all the males, in order for our daughter, our sister, to be married to your prince, you got to become like us. You got to be circumcised. So all the men went and got themselves circumcised. And once a man is circumcised, especially as an adult, he is practically useless because he's in so much pain, right? And that weakened that weakened them to the point where it only took these two sons of Yaokab to go in and slaughter every single one of them. They were too weak to lift a sword. But it was a plan that was devised to take revenge for what this young prince did to their sister, Dinah. To their sister Dinah. And Alahayam accepted it. Of course he did. Because those were Gentiles interfering with his daughter. All right? Alahayam accepted their judgment and execution of these men, as Dinah was forcibly defiled by a Gentile. It is here that we learn the heart of Alahayam towards Lawai and his offspring to be his priesthood. So this was Lawai here as a man, a young man. And it was spoken of him that he was going to be the father, the forefather of the priesthood. His offspring were going to be the priesthood of Yahawah, even before they were a tribe. And this now leads us back to the point where we know that the tribe of Levi, although chosen to be the priesthood to Yahawah, is not the priesthood that he will accept as payment due. The reiteration of the firstborn males having to appear before him, meaning Yahawah, 3 times a year confirms this. So we must put the pieces of this puzzle together with the help of Ruach HaKadosh to see the big picture. It will not be apparent, as we have to see this as prophecy that can only be understood if we view it through his eyes. And not only view it, but understand it too. He has to give us understanding. How does all this information regarding the firstborn males of Yashwa'al relate to the future fulfillment of the Feast of Ingathering? The Feast of Ingathering is the last feast in our year, marking the celebration of the first fruits of the last fruit harvest when our forefathers were living in our land. In order to understand its fulfillment, we have to revisit the past to discover the prophecy hidden regarding first fruits. We also have to see the parallel and symbolism of the commandment of Yahawah concerning the first fruits of the fruit harvest in comparison to that of the firstborn males of Habanai Yashwa'al. For first fruits can also be used to describe the firstborn males of Yashwa'al. They are, after all, the first fruits after the flesh, coming from the womb. Coming from the womb. All right? So when you think of the Feast of Ingathering, you think of the first fruits. All right? Firstborn males. All right? Let's look at Shemawath chapter 22, the book of Exodus chapter 22, verse 29. You shall not delay to offer the first of your ripe fruits and of your liquors, which is wine, the firstborn of your sons shall you give unto me. Was this a coincidence that Yahawah spoke of the first of the ripe fruits and the firstborn males in the same sentence? In fact, this was none other than another clue to the puzzle, another piece to the puzzle, which will help us to understand with evidence the revelation of this hidden prophecy of first fruits in connection to the firstborn males. The Feast of Ingathering ties this all together in its fulfillment at the end of the age. So all he's wanting us to see is Feast of Ingathering has to do with first fruits, firstborn males that belong to Alahayam Yahawah, even to this day. The debt of the firstborn males is outstanding up till now. The reason why Alahayam could not satisfy this debt was because of the fact that they still had a sin nature. So Lawai, the tribe of Lawai, could not satisfy the debt. Otherwise, Alahayam would not have commanded that the firstborn males still appear to him 3 times in a year. If Lawai had satisfied the debt, then that command would not have been given. All right? Yahawah is looking for first fruits, firstborn males, who will fully satisfy his standards of holiness and righteousness, to be made just like his Son in every way, perfect and undefiled, as they will be his priests. Now, can you see anyone fulfilling these requirements? No, not yet. In the days of Halawayam, they still had to sacrifice for their sins and for their consecrations often. Therefore, they could not satisfy the debt owed, showing that they were imperfect. Even today, we have the perfect lamb that was slain, and we are atoned eternally. We're purged of our sins eternally, yet we cannot satisfy this debt. We'll see why in a minute. Let's go back to Madabar chapter 8. That's the book of Numbers chapter 8 verse 5. And Yahawah spoke unto Masha, saying, Take Halawayam from among Habana Yashwa'al and cleanse them. Right? Take the priest and cleanse them. And thus shall you do unto them to cleanse them. Sprinkle water of purifying upon them, and let them shave all their flesh, and let them wash their clothes, and to make themselves clean. Then let them take a young bullock with his meat offering, even fine flour mingled with oil, and another young bullock shall you take for a sin offering. So you see what they had to do, even though that they were the priests called by Yahawah, they still had to go through the cleansing process, and not just once. All right. How will this debt be paid that is owed to Yahawah? Just like Yahawah will not accept the blood of goats and bulls for the remission of sins, the remission of our sins any longer, because we have the perfect lamb that was slain for our sins. So it will be the same when it comes to paying this debt. That must be done according to the perfection of his Son. Now, when you compare yourself to the Son, there's no comparison, right? No. Even though we believe in the Son, we're purged of our sins and clothed in his righteousness. Underneath that cloak of righteousness is this sin nature that is hidden. So we still cannot fulfill the requirements of being perfect. The perfect priesthood. Just like the Son is perfect, we are required to be perfect like him. The first fruits, the firstborn males will have to be perfect because they will belong to him, Hamashiach. He is the high priest. They will be his priesthood. As the high priest is, so will be the priesthood. How is it possible for our firstborn males to be made perfect like Hamashiach? These firstborn males of the 12 tribes of Yashwa'al must be born without a sin nature. In order for that to happen, their parents must be without a sin nature. How is this even remotely possible? Well, I'll tell you. Once we are regathered, we will wash in the sea of water, and that sin nature is removed out of us. We will eat of the tree of life, which will make our condition permanent. So now we are immortal, and we will become perfect before him. Perfect and holy and righteous. But yet, will we fulfill the requirements to be the debt that is owed? No, because there are other requirements. Let's read on. This then leads us to the fulfillment of the first 4 feast days, the regathering of the righteous remnant of the southern kingdom according to the timing of the feast of Pesach and unleavened bread, and the regathering of the righteous remnant of the northern kingdom according to the timing of the feast of first fruits and the feast of Shabbat. After we are regathered, we will all go through the process of being cleansed of our sin nature by washing in the sea of water and eating of the fruit of the tree of life, causing us to become immortal and perfect. We, the redeemed remnant of the 12 tribes of Yashwa'al, will be fully restored in the image of Yahawah, righteous and holy before him. But the promise he made to Abraham, our forefather, must be fulfilled as well. And so it will be from this time and onward throughout the 1,000 years of peace. So, what is this promise that he made to Abraham that must be fulfilled now in the redeemed? Let's look at Bara'ashayath, the book of Genesis, chapter 22, verse 15. And the angel of Yahweh called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, By myself have I sworn, said Yahweh, for because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your only son, that in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. Have we multiplied to be like the sand on the seashore and as the stars in heaven? No, we are a minority at this moment. The Gentiles are the majority. Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 18, the book of Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 18. Thus said Yahweh, Behold, I will bring again the captivity of Yaakob's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places. And the city shall be built upon her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof. And out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, and the voice of them that make merry. And I will multiply them, and they shall not be few. And I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small, meaning insignificant. So, has this happened yet? No. He's saying when he brings again the captivity of Yaakob's tents, meaning the tribes, he will cause us to multiply again. And this time our multiplication will continue to increase because there will be no deaths amongst us, no barrenness amongst us after we are regathered. All right? Let's read on. This prophecy of Yashwa'al multiplying has not been fulfilled, even though we are many upon the earth. Neither do we possess the gate of our enemies. Look at where we are today. Let's say, for example, there are 8 billion people in the world. How many of that 8 billion would be Yashwa'al? Let's just say, for the sake of an example, that we're going to include all 12 tribes, the ones that are awakened and the ones that are not awakened, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. Even if they're living like Gentiles. Let's say, and we're going to be generous, that there are 1 billion of us. If you do the math, there's still 7 billion of the Gentiles that are out there. So who's greater than whom? Their number is greater than our number. We're 1 billion, they're 7 billion. So we are few. And if you start shaving away all the rebels, then we're even less than 1 billion. All right? Way less than 1 billion, not even 1 million. So we are few. So let's read on. In comparison, and before I move on, and besides that, we have not taken possession of the gate of our enemies, right? No, we have. All right. In comparison to all the other nations, we are few, making us the minority. In order for this prophecy to be considered fulfilled, there must be a switch where we become the majority upon the earth, meaning the 7 billion, and all the other nations that will be remaining, they will be 1 billion. So we become the majority on the earth. So whatever nations that are left before the 1,000-year reign, they will continue to multiply, but they will be, because they still have their sin nature, they're going to live and die. They'll give birth, grow up, and they'll die. They'll see deaths. But we, on the other hand, because we are immortal, we will not see death. So for 1,000 years, their numbers are going to be quite low. For 1,000 years, our numbers are just going to be increasing because our children will have children, and our children's children will be having children, and so on and so forth for 1,000 years. All right? Once that 1,000 years is finished, then that's it. All birthing is finished. And that has not happened yet. So they and all other nations will become the minority collectively. For this to occur, there needs to be significant changes in Yashwa'al, where we are not merely multiplying to obtain numbers, but because we are restored, redeemed, and immortal. It is this immortality that will allow us to continuously multiply, growing our numbers in comparison to the nations who will still have a sin nature, and so they will experience births and deaths. It will be that every child who will be born at this time of our immortality will be without a sin nature. Therefore, they will be without sin and shame. This is how it's going to happen. And then you have people that are claiming, I am one of the 144,000. I am women, married men that had children, all kinds of people claiming that they are one of the 144,000. And greater majority of them aren't even our people. If you go back to the scriptures, it says of the 12 tribes of Yashwa'al. But the way how they excuse it is that the church now has been grafted in to Israel. Well, maybe they're grafted into Israel, the fakers in our land, but they're not grafted into us. Not yet. And it will not be any of the Gentiles that will be selected as one of the 144,000. Why? Because it was a debt that Yashwa'al owed, and it will be a debt that Yashwa'al will pay. All right? It's a blessing. It is a blessing. All right? So all those Gentiles out there thinking that they're going to be one of the 144,000, good luck. Because I don't know what scriptures you're reading to come to that conclusion, but they over spiritualize things. That's the problem. They take the requirements that are very clear and they spiritualize it to the point of over spiritualizing it to make it fit them because they want to be someone special. Oh, we had dreams where we're flying and we have beams of light coming from our hands. So that means that I'm one of the 144,000. And you're a married man with 5 children, right? Or a married woman, or what have you. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Need to read the scriptures again and stop hyping yourself up. Has nothing to do with us, even the redeemed of Yahshua, the righteous remnant of Yahshua. It has nothing to do with us, really. It is what we will produce. The firstborn sons that we will produce will belong to Yahawah. All right, let's read on. I'll read that again. It will be that every child who will be born at this time of our immortality will be without a sin nature. Therefore, they will be without sin and sin and blame. And they will be immortal just like their parents. And this is where the first fruits, firstborn males of the redeemed, righteous remnant of the 12 tribes of Yashraal will be the repayment of the debt that our forefathers owed. This is where they're coming from, folks. Let me read that again. And this is where the first fruits, the firstborn males of the redeemed, righteous remnant of the 12 tribes of Yashraal will be the repayment of the debt that our forefathers owe. This is where it's coming from, where the repayment of these firstborn males are coming from. These firstborn males will possess all of the requirements to be the permanent and perfect fulfillment for this debt. Everyone else, no. And because even say the righteous remnant of the 12 tribes, how many of us will be firstborn males and fulfilling the other requirements that I'm going to read and explain to you in a minute? How many of us will be like that? Because only a remnant will be regathered. Revelation chapter 7, verse 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, 144,000 of all the tribes of Yashraal. Didn't say the Gentiles, didn't say grafted in Gentiles, nothing. Just said the 12 tribes of Yashraal. As we read on in the book of Revelation chapter 7, from verses 5 to 8, we see that there will be 12,000 firstborn males who will be selected from each of the 12 tribes of Yashraal. So it was 12,000 of each tribe, and that's how we come up with 144,000. Let's look at Revelation chapter 14, verse 1. And I looked, and behold, a lamb stood on Mount Shalawam, and with him 144,000, having his Abba's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne, and before the 4 beasts, and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. And that redeemed there meaning they were collected. That's the payment from the earth is speaking of people. They came from people. All right? That's a poetic way of saying people. And the people that they're going to be coming from will be the 12 tribes of Yashraal. Verse 4. These are they who were not defiled with women. So therefore, any woman claiming to be one of the 144,000, she's out. All right? In order to say that they were not defiled with women, they had to be men. And that defilement is speaking of intercourse. Therefore, For they were virgins, for they are virgins. All right? So these are virgin males, males that have not had intercourse with women. So you got men out there that had children, married with children, claiming to be of the 144,000, even though they're not even of the 12 tribes. So they're X'd out all the way. They're X'd out. They do not fit the criteria. They do not fit the requirements. They're they who are not defiled with women because they're men. For they are virgins. They are virgin males, firstborn males. These are they who followed the Lamb wherever he went. These were redeemed from among men, being first fruits unto Alahayam and the Lamb. So these are the first fruits that Alahayam Yahawah has been waiting for since the day our forefathers left Goshen. These are the males that he's waiting for. And that's why he put all those temporary measures in place to preserve us as a people, because he's waiting for the redeemed, righteous remnant of the 12 tribes of Yasha'al, and also to collect the debt that we owed. Okay? All right. Let's look at verse 5. And in their mouth was found no guile, meaning no deceit, lies, for they are without fault. They're unblameable. The reason why they're unblameable, because they had no sin before the throne of Alahayam. Tell me one person on this earth besides Hamashiach that can fit all of these criteria. And the ones that claim it to be 144,000, they are all liars. So right there, that's another X next to their name. All right. Now let's go back to the first verse. The Lamb stood on Mount Siyawwan. What was sitting on Mount Siyawwan, and what will be returning to Mount Siyawwan? It was the temple. And Hamashiach, even though he is standing there like the Lamb, he's also the high priest. And the 144,000 will be the priesthood that will follow him no matter where he goes. All right? No matter where he goes. And at the end of the day, we all will become like kings and priests. But these ones are the debt that will be paid, the first fruits that will belong to him forevermore. There are so many people claiming to be the 144,000 saints of Yahawah, spiritualizing even to the point of over spiritualizing the key requirements to be accounted as such. They have all fallen into deep deception, as you cannot read the requirements and justify yourself to qualify. They're under such heavy deception that they read the requirements and they just kind of like, oh well, spiritually speaking, virgins can mean someone who is not worshiping God or Jesus. Someone who's not worshiping other gods. Oh my goodness. Or actually, I kind of said that wrong. They were over spiritualized because we were talking about the Christians here now, right? Because they love their Jesus and they love their God and their Lord God. So anyone who only worships Jesus Christ, or the Lord God, and no one else are considered virgins. Oh my goodness. Oh, these people make me laugh sometimes. Okay. They're under heavy deception. They are to be men, virgins, as they will not be defiled with women. They will not have any desire for women. All right? before they even born, they're already selected as the 144,000. When they come out of the womb, they will be the 144,000. They will still remain with their parents until the time of the end. And while their siblings are all getting married and having children, they're not going to get married or have a desire to get married, because they will know who they are. And they're waiting for their time to be given to Hamashiach. They will have no desire for women. They are to be redeemed from men, being the first fruits, meaning firstborn. And they cannot lie or deceive, and they are without blame, without sin. Blame comes from sin. All right? There's no one on this earth that perfectly fulfills all of these requirements except Hamashiach. Everyone else are considered disqualified, as they cannot meet these requirements. Every single one of us, even the redeemed righteous remnant, as immortal as we will be, we still can't meet these requirements, because you got to be firstborn, you got to be male, you got to be without, cannot be defiled. And the numbers that will be regathered will not be sufficient. Even if a man who is a firstborn male keeps himself until the time his sin nature is removed from him and he eats of the tree of life, how many of our males will be like that? How many? Not going to be 144 of those. But the parents now, he will gather them, and then the first fruit, the firstborn from the womb, will be the selected ones, the elect, the saints, the priesthood of 144,000. Even after the 12 tribes of Yasha'al are restored, redeemed, and will be immortal, we still cannot fulfill all of these requirements completely. We will be without blame and guile, but how many of us will be males, virgins, and firstborn? Remember, Alahayam is collecting 12,000 from each tribe, and until we multiply, the remnant of Yasha'al will not be able to meet this number. However, our firstborn males will easily and completely and perfectly meet all of these requirements. Another deception that is spoken of concerning the 144,000 is that they will be evangelists with powers like super soldiers. If you understand the plans of Alahayam concerning the end times, then this deception is far from the truth. The judgments of Alahayam will be used to purge out the wicked amongst the southern kingdom, the northern kingdom, and then the Gentiles. There are no scriptural references that the 144,000 will be sent to evangelize the earth. But what I see are the two witnesses and the angels prophesying and preaching judgments to the inhabitants on the earth. Only Yasha'al can evangelize, and that time will be over as we are regathered. Now we are evangelizing. That's why I'm doing these studies. All right? But once we are regathered, he's not sending us back here, and he's certainly not sending back our children here to these wretched beings on this earth. No, he's not. And you got to look at the timing of when these 144,000 will come to be. Definitely way after the fact. All right. Now, when I say way after the fact, I mean after all the evil that's been done on the earth. What wars are we going to fight? All the wars now will be fought by Hamashiach and Yahawah. We're there to witness, that's all. And the only people left on the earth will be the Gentiles. Why would he send Yasha'al, the 144,000, to evangelize Gentiles? For what reason? for them to become contaminated because they're full of sin. These are his holy, righteous priesthood. And the way, if you go back to Lawai, Lawai had to be set apart from the other 11 tribes because they were the priests unto Yahawah, and they had to keep themselves away from the other tribes. And when I said away, meaning that what the other tribes were doing, they could not do. They could not farm, they could not go to war. Their only job was that of the tabernacle. So they were set apart. And these 144,000 priests will be set apart just the same. So I don't know where they get this evangelizing the earth and coming back as super soldiers and, with power and got these beams of light coming out every which way. All these people, they watch too much TV. That's why you watch too many Marvel comic movies. All right, let's read on. Also to note, the two witnesses are two men, two prophets of our lineage, and no one else. Because some people even say the 144,000, I don't know. There's just so many false teachings out there, is unbelievable. The identity of these two men are also misleading our brethren into deep deception, as many are teaching that they are in reference to the two kingdoms, which is utter nonsense. The 144,000 first fruits of the 12 tribes of Yashwa'al will follow Hamashiach wherever he goes. He is our high priest, and they, the 144,000, will be his priests. They will move between the heavens and the earth, as this will be the movement of Hamashiach. The fact that they are seen upon Mount Sinai confirms their purpose, as this will be where the temple of Alahayam will be established by Hamashiach when he returns to the earth for his millennial reign. But this mountain will be his dwelling place upon the earth after his reign. He and Abba Yanah, meaning our Father, will be our temple in New Yerushalayim there. We know that the 144,000 will be priests because the original plan of Yahawah was to collect the firstborn males, but took Lawayam instead to be his priest. Madabar chapter 8, verse 14. That's the book of Numbers, chapter 8, verse 14. Thus shall you separate Lawayam from among Habanai Yashwa'al, and Lawayam shall be mine. And after that shall Lawayam go in to do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and you shall cleanse them and offer them for an offering, for they are wholly given unto me from among Habanai Yashwa'al, instead of such as open every womb. Even instead of the firstborn of all Habanai Yashwa'al have I taken them unto me. For all the firstborn of Habanai Yashwa'al are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I smote every firstborn in the land of Matzorayam, I sanctified them for myself. And I have taken Lawayam for all the firstborn of Habanai Yashwa'al. So we have to see Alahayam is speaking presently and futuristically. When he is saying that he's taken Lawayam from among Habanai Yashwa'al to be his instead of the firstborn males of Yashwa'al, he's speaking there and then. Now in verse 17, he says, for all the firstborn of for all the firstborn of Habanai Yashwa'al are mine. He's speaking in the future. This debt was never removed with Lawai, the priesthood. All right? He is reiterating and reiterating and reiterating again that all the firstborn belong to him. All the firstborn males belong to him. And he has sanctified them for himself. All right. The 144 let's see, I don't think I read verse 18. And I have taken Halawayam for all the firstborn of Habanai Yashwa'al. The 144,000 first fruits of Yashwa'al will remain with their families until the timing of their departure to begin their roles as priests with Hamashiach. They will be a gift for the high priest, who is Hamashiach, given to him by his Abba, just like Halawayam were given as a gift to Ahawaran, the high priest, and his son. So that's Aaron, the high priest, and his son. So the tribe of Lewi were given to Ahawaran and his sons, because Ahawaran was the high priest in those days. Madabar chapter 8, verse 19. And I have given Halawayam as a gift to Ahawaran and to his sons from among Habanai Yashwa'al to do the service of Habanai Yashwa'al in the tabernacle of the congregation, and to make atonement for Habanai Yashwa'al, that there be no plague among Habanai Yashwa'al when Habanai Yashwa'al come near unto the sanctuary. So he used the priesthood to perform the different sacrifices and the rituals to keep them purged and clean, so that they can be in his presence and he be in their midst. Because Alahayam Yahawah is so holy, and any unrighteousness and unholiness will be struck down. So to prevent the destruction of our people, he established Lewi as the priesthood to perform all these rituals. Okay? There's a difference between these two gifts offered to the high priest, Ahawaran and Hamashiach. The purpose of the priesthood, Halawayam, who were given to Ahawaran the high priest, was to assist him in making atonements for Yashwa'al and all the other sacrifices as well. Peace offering, thanks, free will offering, thanksgiving offering, peace offerings, all those different offerings, burnt offerings, sin offerings, all these offerings, Halawayam assisted Ahawaran and his sons to carry out. All right? Plus the fact of transporting the tabernacle in the wilderness. Whereas the 144,000 will not need to make atonements for Habanai Yashwa'al, as we will be perfect before Yahawah. And they wouldn't have a tabernacle to be moving around. Yet Hamashiach will institute ordinances and certain sacrifices which they will be of assistance to him. The 12 tribes of Yashwa'al will also be kings and priests in his kingdom, governing the Gentiles. And I have that in quotations there, because the Gentiles will be coming in amongst us. All right? Who will come in amongst us. But the 144,000 will closely follow Hamashiach. The timing of the departure of the 144,000 who will leave their families to join with Hamashiach will be the same timing of the Feast of Ingathering. Although at this point there will be no more time, as there will be no more sun or moon for quite some time. Yet the timing of this feast and all other feast days will be known and celebrated in their appointed times. The Feast of Ingathering will be fulfilled once the 144,000 first fruit priests of Hamashiach take their places with him. And all that will be left will be the last feast to be finally completed, will be the Feast of Tabernacles. So don't forget that the Feast of Ingathering is tied to the Feast of Tabernacles. So these two final fulfillments will be events that will be occurring simultaneously. And I kind of skipped the Feast of Tabernacles and went straight to the Feast of Ingathering, to let you know that the timing will be the timing of the 144,000 joining with Hamashiach upon Mount Shalawam will be the timing of this feast day, which will be the Feast of Ingathering, which at the same time is also the same timing for the Feast of Tabernacles. All right, so let's get that cleared up. As we all go up to return in the new city, New Jerusalem, to be declared as the bride of Hamashiach, the 144 priests will depart to join with Hamashiach. As there will be no more temple for Yahawah, and Hamashiach will be our temple, therefore the 144 priests, 144,000 priests will join him on his holy mountain, Shalawam, and be seen by everyone. It will be a time of celebrations. Our debt is finally paid. All evil is destroyed forever, and now all is made new forevermore. So, after the white throne judgment, when we have the new heavens, new earth, and new Jerusalem descending from the heavens, that will be the people of Yashrael, inclusive of the Gentiles, in the city, descending together. All of that will be the bride for Hamashiach. The city filled with its people. Revelation chapter 14, verse 1. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Shalawam, and with him 144,000, having his Abba's name written in their foreheads. So we looked at that before. So let's look at Revelation chapter 20, verse 1. And I saw a new heaven and new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, Yochanan, that's John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Alahayam out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Alahayam is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And Alahayam himself shall be with them, and be their Alahayam. And Alahayam shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. So that means all evil will be destroyed at this point of time and forevermore. Let's drop down to verse 9. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels who had the 7 vials, full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come here, I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descended out of heaven from Alahayam, having the glory of Alahayam. And I stopped there, okay, because I didn't need to write anymore. So Jerusalem, New Jerusalem, will have the glory of Alahayam, and we will be in that city as it descends. Remember, we're all now transformed to be immortal, to be in the image of Alahayam Yahawah fully, who is spirit. But we will be both spirit and physical at the same time. All right? So when he is bringing that city down, we will already be in that city, descending upon the earth. And I discussed all of this in the book of Revelation. I explained all of it in the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation series that I did. Revelation chapter 20, verse 22. And I saw no temple therein, for Yahawah Alahayam Shaddai and the Lamb are the temple of it. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon, to shine in it, for the glory of Alahayam did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them who are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it, and the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there, and they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it, and they shall in no wise enter into it anything that defiles, neither whatsoever works abominations or makes a lie, but they who are written in the Lamb's book of life. All evil will be destroyed, so nothing that defiles or works abominations will be alive. They'll be in the lake of fire. Let's look at Revelation chapter 22, verse 3. And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of Alahayam and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him, and they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads. So this expression of his name being in their foreheads, meaning that we will be thinking of him and him alone and be his worshipers, and no other name will be in our minds, because he will be on our minds, because we will want to serve him and him alone. We will want to worship him and him alone. We will call on him and him alone. No other names will we be calling. Okay? Verse 5. And there shall be no night there, and they need no candle, neither light of the sun, for Yahawah Alahayam gives them light. That's his glory. And they shall reign forevermore, forever and ever. And that glory will be a part of us as well. So not only is he shining his glory in his city upon the earth, but we too will be emitting his glory. This is the future for the redeemed righteous remnant of the 12 tribes of Yasharal, their children who will be born during the millennium, and the Gentiles who will choose to love and to worship Alahayam Yahawah. This is our glorious ending, spelled out in great detail, although the Christians have hijacked it to be their happy ending. But time will soon reveal the truth for all who believe in Hamashiach, whether homeborn Yashraal or Gentile, will have nothing to fear except him. There will be a reason why in the end Yahawah will wipe away all our tears, for we will weep with joy at the conclusion of evil and the beginning of eternal glory. When it's all finished, can you imagine the emotions that we will experience? One last thing that will be fulfilled on is the 8th day. I spoke about this in an earlier study. The Feast of Tabernacles is celebrated on the 1st and the 8th days. That's not coincidence. That's purposeful, because Alahayam is speaking prophetically to his people. Although this festival is kept for 7 days. All right? This 8th day is a strong indicator to all who understands the prophetic messages hidden in these feast days and the revelation of the other prophecies. When Hamashiach returns to the earth for his millennial reign will begin a perpetual day for 1,000 years, as there will be no more sun, moon, or stars. At the conclusion of this 1,000 years, it will bring us to the 7th day, the ending of the 7th day. All right? Because 6,000 years already passed. So when he begins his 1,000 year, we're heading towards the 7th day. And that's the perpetual day. All right? It's going to be perpetual day, meaning that there'll be no night, no morning, afternoon, evening, or night. It will be a continuous day, because his glory and the glory of Alahayam Yahawah will be upon the earth for 1,000 years. Remember, there's no more evil for 1,000 years, and 1,000 years of peace. Gadriel will be locked away for 1,000 years. All right. So at the conclusion of the 1,000-year reign brings us to start a new day. All right, to start a new day. So after that seventh day is completed, now we're going into the last and final day, which will be the eighth day. After the completion of the 1,000 years, the seventh day of peace on the earth, there will be a final war, the Gog and Magog war, which will be fought by Yahawah himself. The heavens and the earth will be destroyed, and the white throne judgment will begin. Will be will follow. Don't know why that word is in there, but so the white throne judgment will follow. After the destruction of all evil, meaning all evil now, all that is evil will be thrown into the lake of fire. That's their final destination. All right? The new heavens and the new earth and new Jerusalem will come, beginning the new era. And that new era is called the eighth day. That eighth day, it's that eighth day that we see for the Feast of Tabernacles. Because remember, the Feast of Tabernacles will be fulfilled when the new Jerusalem descends. And new Jerusalem will descend beginning the eighth day. And that's the final perpetual day that will have no ending. All right? And this is the reason why the Feast of Tabernacles have those clues. The first day is celebrated and the eighth day, even though it's a 7-day celebration, 7-day feast day. But the Holy Convocation is kept first and eighth days. That eighth day is speaking volumes to us to let us know that we will be tabernacling with Him forevermore on a perpetual day called the eighth day. The 7 days of creation are completed and finished because that's what the 7 days that we're looking at, although we call it 7,000 years, but 1,000 years on the earth is a day in heaven. All right. So when we look at creation, yes, everything was created in 6 days, and on the 7th day, Alahayam rested, bringing us to 7 days. All right. But after the 7th day of rest, which will be the 1,000 years of peace, now we will start a new day called the 8th day. Never before have we ever had an 8th day. But this 8th day will be a perpetual day that will last forever and ever and ever and ever, never coming to an end. And that's why it's so significant for us. When we look at these feast days and we understand exactly why He's telling us to celebrate them the way how we ought to be celebrating them. Because He has His prophecies, His golden nuggets of truth hidden in them. And the only way that we can understand what they are is when Ruach HaKodesh gives us revelation with understanding. All right? And this will be the final day lasting forever. Hallelujah. And that's the ending of this particular series called the Holy Feast Days of Yahawah. We will conclude now with the blessing for Yashwa'al, taken from Madabar chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. That's the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. Yabarakak Yahawah, Waya Shamarak. May Yahawah bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahawah Panayo Alayak Wayahanak. May Yahawah cause His face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'ar Yahawah Panayo Alayak Wayasham Lak Shalawam. May Yahawah lift up His face upon you and give you peace. And now we're going to recite the command that we're instructed to recite when we lie down, when we get up, when we go out, and when we come in, taken from Alahayam chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. That's Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. Shema'o Yashba'al Yahawah Alahayana Yahawah Ahad wa Ahabath Yahawah Alahayak Bakal Babak wa Bakal Napashat wa Bakal Ma'adak. Hear, O Yashba'al, Yahawah our Alahayam is one Yahawah, and you shall love Yahawah your Alahayam with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And with that I will say, Shalawam, Shalawam, all praises to the Most High, Abba Yah.